Hello again everyone, my name's Dorelius and welcome back to another video. I have a bit of a treat for you today. Minikloon, a former Hypixel developer who was mainly responsible for content like the Rift, Slayers, and the Diana event, did a lengthy interview with me in which we went over a ton of questions related to Skyblock and Hypixel development. Before we jump into it, there are a couple things that I want to note here. Firstly, these questions were kept to be mainly development based rather than trying to be deeply personal. Secondly, do not take anything within this video as gospel when it comes to future content and future releases. If something is mentioned as a cancelled update or as a possibility, view it as such. Do not attempt to map out the future of Skyblock based on what was said here. Anyway, as well, make sure to like and subscribe down below for hopefully more interviews like this one, and use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order. Also, feel free to use the video chapters if you want to navigate to a specific question. Thank you all for this opportunity, and let's get started. Alright, so right now I have Minikloon on the other line. Hello, Mini. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm all right.
So today we're going to be doing a bit of an interview. I guess we could start by just telling me a little bit about yourself and what you did at Hypixel.
I'm Minikloon. A lot of people know me in the community I was a developer on Hypixel for many, many years and on Skyblock.
Alright, alright. So I guess we're going to get started with the interview questions now. And we'll get started with the first one. How did you get started at Hypixel? Was it due to a general interest in game development or a specific interest in Minecraft development? Did you ever play on the Hypixel server before becoming a developer?
All right, I guess we have to look at like my origin story. I was interested in programming and game development, I guess, since forever, ever since I used computers. I dabbled with like HTML when I was 12, but it's really at like 14 or 15 years old that I made like a conscious choice to, I don't know, improve and like develop my skills as a developer.
Yeah.
And back then there was a thriving plugin community on the Bucket forums. That's like old school stuff.
Yeah, that is old school.
And I made a lot of public plugins. I don't know, I looked at all of these big ones and I aspired to, just make plugins for people to use on their servers. And I guess it's also because I played on like prison servers, like
Oh my, you
like
were a prison server player? That's interesting.
yeah, well, I didn't mind that much, but back then it was this idea where, well, of course everything was pay to win, but it was like
Yeah.
you had these mines, and then in between the mining area and the selling area, there would be PvP, and then out of nowhere you have the community, and these players would come back every day, and you could recognize the names. And I didn't play too long, but quickly I made plugins for this or that, like a few different prison servers, and they were all the rage back then, even before minigames. They were like the main custom thing outside of survival.
Interesting. That's really, really interesting.
But then I gained knowledge of minigame servers in 2012. So Minecraft like 2009, 2010, Bucket 2011. So a year later after that, there was a forum post on the Bucket forums. So that's before Reddit, before Facebook, before
Yeah.
the old days. There was it was the Bucket forums, and it's still up. It's still up. I think all the usernames are messed up, but still it works. And there was this a guy, just some guy called War Chicken, who made a paintball server. And the nice coincidence is that that paintball server was coded by Codename B. Like, what a coincidence.
That is funny.
So that was kind of like the first minigame server out there. And I made like a copy of it, a public version. There was like that's what I did. There were plugin requests on the Bucket forums, and to improve my skills, I just filled them. I just made them
Yeah.
and then released them to the public. So that was my first kind of big project, which was like it's a mini games. Like it has a start and an end score. Players throw snowballs at each other's. And around 2015, right, a couple years later, after doing a lot of plugins and a lot of coding, and
Yeah.
even back then in 2015, I looked back at my code and it was awful, but whatever. I was in computer engineering in university, and there were like a lot of non-computer science courses. I had chemistry, I had physics. I
Yeah.
didn't really feel, I don't know, why am I doing so much maths?
Fair enough.
kind of thing.
Fair enough.
So I was spending a lot of time coding at home, and I worked like I was paid to work on a server called the Chunk, and then I worked a little bit for, I don't know, these are such old names, but yeah, at some point I saw an application. It was, I think, on the Bucket forums actually, because that's where even the big servers advertised for jobs, and there was one from Hypixel, which I hadn't really heard about. I knew it was big. I knew Mineplex back then. Mineplex was the biggest server. I know
Yeah.
nowadays it's kind of hard to imagine somewhere where
Mineplex
sometime
was the
where
biggest, yeah, server.
where Hypixel wasn't even number one or number two, or like it wasn't close.
Yeah,
For a long time, it was second, but anyway.
yeah, it was in its infancy at the time. So interesting.
So I just applied, sent an email, and I sent two emails, and one 6 months later. It doesn't matter the details, but I do remember distinctively where I had an interview with Noxy
Oh wow.
back then, and when the interview ended, I then spoke with Simon, and things were going well. And I was just a student in school. My parents were paying for my university and my my rent and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's only after the interview ended that I clicked that, like, what did I do? I just applied for like a
That's
full-time job.
That's a job, yeah.
And then I just dropped out like Mark Zuckerberg to work on this block game.
Oh man, that's funny.
So there was, because I didn't play on the server, there was cultural integration both inside the company, inside the team, but also in the community. Like back then, there was a big deal about it was survival games was the biggest game, like Blitz was the biggest game.
Yeah.
And back then it was like a big deal around God games, and like every developer was like deeply integrated in the community.
That's so interesting. Well, that was a very I appreciate the depth there. That was a really interesting story, I guess. So you kind of just like you sort of just fell into it. You just realized like, oh my gosh, I just applied for like this is actually a big deal. It's not just working on a server and they're gonna pay me a couple $100. Like this is actually a real job.
Yeah.
So
But
interesting.
everything was smaller back then, right?
Yeah, of
It's instead
course.
of
Yeah.
30,000 players, it was 4,000 or whatever.
Yeah, that's still crazy though. Very, very interesting. All right, I guess we'll move on to question number 2, unless you have anything else you would like to add.
Let's move on, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So, what was one of the aspects of development that you enjoyed working on most at Hypixel?
Um, I think it was three things. Let's say there was a lot of things, but let's say freedom, creative expression, and the quick feedback.
Interesting.
So the freedom, I think, is mostly born of pragmatism. The server was so small, there was full-time devs, yeah, but it's like so many people wore so many hats back then, and even for a long time, that culture like persisted even to today.
Yeah.
So right when I joined, I was tasked on the Turbo Kart Racers.
Oh
You remember
man.
that game? To
TKR.
create, yeah, TKR, to create the weapons. And TKR was like bleeding edge Minecraft. That came out of
Yeah.
Warlords. It was after Warlords, which was already like mind
Yeah,
blowing.
very cutting edge. Yeah.
And it had this physics system with the carts and the drifting and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I
It's,
was
it
meant
still
to
looks really
do.
good to this day, too.
Yeah, and I don't know. I look back at it like it has some issues, the game, but it's fun. But yeah, I was tasked to create the weapons. Basically, when you just like in Mario Kart, when you cross you pick up the items and there's the
Yeah.
animation, and then you get like a green shell, but it was a green missile in TKR. So what I meant creative, like freedom born of pragmatism, is that after I was kind of like done with the weapons, we still had to progress to the game, and I was used to like, I don't know what. I wrote the most terrible racetrack system in history. The builders were forced to like put blocks in a certain order to define the path
Oh,
that
interesting.
showed like what's forward and backwards. I wrote the worst thing ever, but out of pragmatism, we still did it. And so
Yeah.
this freedom is like liberating in a way because you just make progress still, and I get to learn and I get to just do stuff. And once you're able to set your foot in the door, I can make the racetrack system, then maybe I can work on the game loop itself, and then maybe I can work on this, and then the project actually advances.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And this creative freedom, it's not just writing bad code and improving, it's also the freedom extends to the creativity as well. Like I was able to, it's on my YouTube, it's this Node Block remix of the Victory Lobby. There was music that an actual good musician made in Node Block Studio. And then I made a remix as just an amateur and I thought it sounded good. So we just put it in the game and it was fine.
Yeah, so I guess you
And
were able to take like a, I don't know, if you as a developer had a particularly good idea, even if it wasn't exactly in your hat in your field of study, I guess you were able to get that in the game. That's really interesting.
yeah, and you don't get that in any company, right?
Yeah,
A lot
that's
of people
true.
are, a lot of places are siloed and they're just do your thing and just don't stick your head out too much. I said freedom, creative expression, and quit feedback. Creative expression, yeah, I guess that's what I just covered.
Hmm.
I practice like in Skyblock, it's seen in every corner. Like every idiosyncratic element of the game can be traced back to like some dev's ambitions or bubble that crack their head at 3 a.m. So
Yeah.
I try to practice like casual creativity. So concretely, it's like, oh, there's the stuff like not enough soul flow that
Hmm.
says it in SpongeBob. It's just at any point in code, I just try to, do not just write for the spec, but also just add something. And
Yeah.
that was allowed.
Yeah, I think that that's one of
That
the
felt great.
things people take away a lot from the content you've specifically made is the vibe. I like the number one word I hear about stuff that you've made is like it's creative. It's so interesting because it's just it feels very exciting, which I think a lot of other Minecraft servers are not able to necessarily emulate as much. So that's very interesting. I appreciate
But it
that.
wasn't just me.
Yeah,
That's the
of
thing. I think
course.
it was the culture that set that
Yeah, it
ability.
allowed it, which is very very good.
And the quick feedback is simply because of the community. Like
Hmm.
the second you release something, you're inundated like with people complaining about it already. But it's a motivator because you're able to see the fruit of your work and
Yeah.
improve faster.
All right. And I guess kind of bouncing off that, like with the community so interested in Hypixel, how does one like apply to Hypixel? And I guess like a little bit of an extra part of this question is like, how would you give any tips to anybody who was applying at Hypixel? Like, what would you say to them?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I get asked like often. There's a lot of people aspiring to work at Hypixel.
Hmm.
Um, So I guess the first thing is you just go on hypixel.net/jobs or
Yeah.
jobs.hypixel.net and it has available positions. And if you can do it, you go there. I think even getting your foot in the door is like becoming a game tester for a large studio. It gets your foot in the door to the game design, perhaps,
Yeah.
as you meet people. Sometimes not, but if you go straight for the coding positions, like minigame developer,
Hmm.
it's been there since 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 that job space has been open. That job has
Yeah.
been open. It's a bit paradoxical because it's both harder and easier than ever at the same time.
Hmm.
And what I mean is that unlike like people say back in my day, get yourself up by your bootstrap and stuff. Back in my day, it was easier
Yeah.
because it was more fertile. There was more, I don't know, will to grow and whatever. It's hard now because Hypixel has a solid team in place already, which
Yeah.
is literally the most some of the most experienced block game, well, Minecraft developers in the world.
Yeah.
So you have to really shine to fit.
Hmm. For sure.
So the way to shine, and that's what I recommend, it's like the number one tip to keep in mind when you're applying is just portfolio, portfolio, portfolio. It's kind of
Yeah.
like real estate, location, location, location. It's the same thing.
Hmm.
Show things that you've done, things that you've made. It's bonus points if they've been made by, like, if they've been seen
Hmm.
by people and used by people. Like, if you made a public plugin, does it have users and downloads? If you've worked on a server, like how many players there were, or even having players is good in the first place.
Yeah.
So just having air or just education is just not good enough. You need portfolio,
Yeah. That's
and it's hard. Sorry,
no,
it's
no, no.
hard
It's
in 2025 because I said there was a thriving bucket community. Well, that's dead.
yeah.
And every other server than Hypixel is on life support. So when you
True.
invest a significant amount of time and effort into learning plugin development or Java or Minecraft modding, it takes like a special kind of willpower. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, I have to make two mini games on my GitHub and I have no idea if they're gonna take me, but that's still like the main way to do it,
Yeah.
I think. But
Okay.
I think it's easy at the same time because once you do make one or two full mini games, and you have worked at a marketplace partner, or and you've shown that you can do Java or whatever path, like Roblox or whatever, you've delivered something
If you've
to
made
actual
Grow a
players.
Garden, you're good.
Yeah, yeah, the door is open for Grow a Garden.
Yeah. Alright. Well, I appreciate that. That was very motivational. I bet a lot of people in the comments are gonna be like, "That was such a motivational segment." I feel so ready to apply now.
Motivation is just, yeah, do stuff, but
Yeah.
it's
You're gonna
easier
be the
said than done.
reason the Hypixel jobs section of the website is going to be flooded with applicants after this video.
Yeah, use code mini on your application to.
Yeah, just quote them. Use code mini. Code mini for 5% chance to get accepted. All right. Question number 4. How and when did Skyblock begin development, and what inspired the creation of the game?
How and when? When it was in 2019 in March.
Really?
It's hard to say. So there are these Hypixel game jams internally,
Hmm.
where it sounds silly to say, but it's like, oh, we drop everything, every task that we have for a week, and we
Hmm.
just make a game. And
Yeah.
that one time, I think it was the second instance of this game jam, and we teamed up with a bigger team than usual. In fact, I think I wasn't even in that team, but I know that Nitro and A-Punch actually was even earlier than that. It's crazy now that I think about it. There was one of the production guy from Bed Wars
Oh wow.
worked with A-Punch to make a Skyblock because it was popular on YouTube, but
Yeah.
he started from too far away, making NPC systems with like A Punch is a big fan of making these systems. So that kind of like put it on ice. But then they made a demo for the game jam, and that was so bare bones. But there was, I think, some fundamentals of the collections. It was a single island. You didn't have a private island,
Hmm.
but they showed, hey, like there's willingness to like do this, and we have some sort of vision. So it really took into place, I think, in January 2019 or March. I'm not too sure, but around that. And it took like 6 months
Yeah.
because it released in June, right?
It released in June. Yeah.
Which back then was like a huge deal on Hypixel, a game taking that much. Like
Yeah.
usually minigames could be from A to Z. Like making Blitz nowadays would take 2 months.
Hmm.
Maybe not with all the updates, but maybe with it, yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a long time during development where everybody was like, "Is this going anywhere? Like, we don't see the end of the
Yeah.
light of the light at the end of the tunnel there."
Yeah.
I was tasked with, I say the complicated stuff, but it's not really fair. But I made the auction house was the first thing I made.
Wow.
I made the auction house before there was even an item system,
That's
which means
crazy.
that it just dealt with vanilla like vanilla Minecraft items,
Hmm.
and I think that can still be felt. Maybe it's being edited, whatever. And I worked on the island system, the island storage, and I made that dev blog that explains kind of how it works, where there was a special way to save the world so we can save more of them. And then I made the instancing, and I worked on like more of the network stuff. And then I know that Valentra worked on the minions, and then a lot of like the islands configurations. A Punch worked on a lot of the systems. Nitro worked on creating dupes for the future. No, but
Creating
he
dupes.
made no. It's because he worked on the recipe system, and he worked
Yeah.
on the crafting menu, and he worked on a lot of menus that I'm just joking.
See,
I'm throwing
Nitro,
one of the
yeah, I know.
best.
Nitro intentionally, he put all those dupes in the game on purpose. He
Yeah,
did it.
but yeah, we didn't know too much where we were going. We knew we were making a persistent game, kind of. It had the same persistence system as the pit,
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
and it was also kind of a hail mary for the company back then, because that was before COVID. The server is always alive, is always going to be alive, but it was kind of dying.
Hmm.
So yeah, but it turned out pretty well.
Yeah, I think I guess a follow up was like this isn't really a development related question, but like how did the team react to like the game blowing up overnight? Like it went from like it didn't exist, and then a week later it was a third of the entire server. Like that was kind of crazy.
I don't exactly remember, was it a week later, but yeah, how did the team react? Uh, Basically, before release, we expected, and it's hard to gauge because everything is relative to back then, but we expected 3 to 5,000 players, and that's when Skywars had 10 to 15,
Mm-hmm.
and Bedwars had a lot more, but we
Bedwars
never
had 20,
expected the
25.
game. Yeah, so we never expected Skyblock to. We thought it would be a niche of like, oh, it's this sort of PVE persistent game that people go on the side, kind of like housing maybe.
Yeah.
Um, so when it did blow up, like the whole company, Simon was like, he made a decree. He was like, everybody is Skyblock developer for at least 2 months.
Everybody is now a Skyblock dev.
That had ups and downs, but it on the very first few months of the server, it helped us to create content. I guess.
Yeah.
How did the team react? I guess everybody was like ecstatic,
Yeah, that's good. I guess that's really good.
but it was a mess.
Alright. It was a mess, you would say?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so number 5. Which system or feature was the most complex to develop and why?
Sorry, I had in mind like no tower builds this fast without wiggling a little bit.
Yeah, this is true. That's a fair point. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, what was your question?
The question was which system or feature was the most complex to develop and why?
You mean for Skyblock? I
Yeah.
think probably the Bazaar because it's a culmination of multiple facets of like my experience. So I've been mocked internally for comparing it to the stock exchange, the New York Stock Exchange. Like there was a meeting at some point where I don't know there was some issue and I wanted to put blockers on trade,
Yeah.
kind of like what they did on GME or whatever. But blocks on trade so that dupe exploiters don't spread the malice on the economy too fast. And so I was comparing, I was comparing it to the New York Stock Exchange, saying that that's what they do, and then I got made fun of. But still, because it's a bit presumptuous, the system in the back end it works like stock exchange because that's what it is. It has
Yeah.
these buy orders, sell orders, and then there's a lot of UX because like I don't know if you agree, but like actually using the Bazaar in game, it works pretty well, and it's
Yeah,
like
I
easy to
agree with that.
understand. It's fast, and
I
like
think
it has a
so,
lot
yeah.
of. If you're a power user, it has like a lot of like functionality. You can right click, shift click at different places to go even faster, or you can click on a box in your inventory to sell faster.
Yeah.
So it's because of a combination of like the menu and the also enormous gameplay impact.
Hmm.
So I had these long discussions with Jay about the impact on the economy. That's the same update. I don't know if you remember, but when the Bazaar released, there was so much controversy saying, "Oh, it ruins the game because
Yeah.
we limited the amount you could sell
Hmm.
to daily
NPC,
to
yeah.
the shops." And like people said, "This is trash. We never asked for this."
Hmm.
And so like all of these decisions about the shop, there was like a lot of talk with Jay, and that's like gameplay rather than anything to do with the coding. So yeah, most complex, probably the Bazaar.
All right. So next question would be, what was the update that you enjoyed working on the least?
Um, I'll start with a Hypixel one, which
Yeah.
is not like before Skyblock. There was I think it was there was these Skywars labs.
Yeah.
I think it was Skywars Lucky Blocks.
Really? That's
So I
funny.
mentioned there was the producer guy on. It's like after the creation of Hytale, there was a bit of space made for management in between Simon and other. And I don't want to speak ill of these guys. They had their own objectives, and it's fine. But
Yeah.
basically, Skywars Lucky Blocks existed just because it was popular on YouTube. It was just a popular YouTube keyword, mainly with like Sunday, it's a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And the way it was pushed, it's like I accepted the project and I started making a lot of Lucky Block effects.
Hmm.
But the main content is actually on YouTube. It's the reaction of the YouTuber.
Yeah.
So to fit that in a PvP game, you need a lot more.
Hmm.
So it just got like so much work. So
Yeah.
at some point I told them, like maybe I'll need somebody else, or maybe like that's too much, or I need more time. And he just said like, it doesn't matter, just make garbage. Which
Fair
just
enough.
felt like creatively bankrupt of like,
Yeah, just like your job now is to pump out effects. You will make
yeah,
50 of them. Like,
just do something worse, and that's just not me. So that just felt terrible. And in the end, I just bit. So strangely, nowadays Skywars has some difficulties I see, but like
yeah.
for a while that was the most popular lab still,
Hmm.
as far as I know.
Yeah.
And I think for a while too, it was the only one available. All the other ones got sunset.
Yeah, people liked it.
Yeah, it was a bunch of bullshit, but it was entertaining sometimes.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
And for Skyblock, the most the question with the least enjoyable, I guess, the dupe fixes. Getting
Really?
called up at 3 a.m. because some ding dong just like broke their island. I don't know, like only a man can survive that only so many times, but it happened over and over and over.
Yeah, it was. I bet it was especially annoying if it was ever the same person, and you could tell it was the same person. You're like, you gotta stop doing this, bro. You've woken me up at 3 a.m. too many times for this.
Yeah, but often it's different guys because they find issues by accident rather than
Yeah.
like anything else. And yeah, so these dupe fixes and also content, not content, but work that the players care a little about. And basically, like there was a profiles update in the backend that was a big deal. Or with the Bazaar and AH, at some point people were losing items at the point of contact between the service and like the actual game. So we
Yeah.
added escrow so that items don't get lost. It's not that people don't care about escrow, it's just the amount of effort compared to like the result is so small.
Yeah.
And then there was another example is like when the game released, I guess that this is purely technical, and that's what I mean by players don't care. Is the game talked so Hypixel has a main backend piece of software. I don't know if I'm leaking, but whatever. I guess it's kind of known. There's this master control program that
Yeah.
Agent K made like a million years ago. The dinosaurs saw that program. Just they used it in ancient Egypt
Yeah.
to run their servers.
It's an old program for real.
Yeah, so every communication between the game servers went through that program, even if they went to external services, including the auction house.
Yeah.
And there was an issue where if I give you like an envelope and you're the program, like you're the mail, you're the postman, and I give you an envelope, the program had to like open the envelope and read all of it
Interesting.
before passing it over, which was like too much work. Like imagine in real life if the post had to read the content of every single piece
Yeah,
of
they don't need to do that.
adjunct.
Be successful.
So they just need to pass the envelope. So anyway, I had to rework that so that it was more efficient. And it was like, oh, I have to go in and write every message, different message. Oh, a create auction request or a dark auction. Or am I allowed to enter request? Or like every single packet of communication, I had to rewrite them in binary instead of like the JSON encoding. And it was like 2 days of like, because it was urgent. Because the software was breaking. It was like that's another thing. You get called up and you have to drop any content that is fun to work on that.
Well, all right.
For actual content updates, I don't know what I liked least. It's
It's easier to say what you like most than what you like least.
yeah, it's like everything's a reprieve compared to
That.
the dupe fixes.
Fair enough. I mean, that's a reasonable answer. So, I guess number 7, were there any updates that you began working on that you were unable to finish for any reason? And if so, are you able to discuss what was going to be changed?
Yeah, again, I don't know if I'm able to, but whatever. I'll just say what I know is yes, a lot. There were a lot of updates that never came out and or unable to finish for many reasons. There are public ones, like there was the leaked footage of the Slayers V2.
Yeah. The tier 6 Revenant horror. When are we getting that one, Minikloon?
There was a Revenant horror that threw axes and had like towers that threw axes. It was pretty cool, but it was unfinished. And the plan was, and I remember there was like screenshots in Discord where I said, yeah, this was coming by the end of the month. But then I got busy with like, I don't know, some other dupes or whatever. That's That's a classic. Is you work on something, you're passionate, and then you get hit on the head
You
by a
hear
hammer,
that? You
and
hear
then you
that,
come back.
dupers? It's your fault we didn't get more updates. It's your personal fault that we didn't get more updates.
A little bit, a little bit. And there's this one that's kind of semi-public. It's an old one too. It's at some point near the beginning of the game, after the end, after dungeons was in progression. I don't know. After the park, just after the park, Simon had like divine inspiration to create a moon island,
The
and
moon. It's
as he,
real.
as he does pass the word of God, we set out to create it. Like there's actual builds of Skyblock on the moon out there with like alien structures, and it looks pretty cool. But we weren't able to like wrangle it together in the final product. The
Yeah.
bazaar itself, which I talked about, was part of a desert island, which had its
Really?
own village, kind of like the Dwarven mines, and it had dunes with RNG encounters. Like you would dig the sand, and there would be an
See,
RNG chance of
that
getting
makes so
different.
much more sense considering the initial like bazaar. If you went back there, like there was sand back there for some reason, and all the NPCs like looked like desert NPCs.
Well, it fit thematically too,
Yeah.
just bizarre on its own. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was part of. It was meant to be part of an island, and
That's
there was a
so
pyramid
interesting.
minigame. There was a red sand collection. There were different plans,
Wow.
but it didn't come together. And then the bazaar, which was the main part that I spent the most effort for, we just extracted it and put it in the game.
So interesting.
But to be honest, it's because in terms of islands, making islands, it's because for me, okay, for me, is just in the team. I said I work on the auction house pre-release. I worked on, the network system, but I was also kind of not. I was like a lone wolf.
Hmm.
I'm talking me personally. So as a lone wolf, sometimes you can't consistently create projects that don't fit in your mouth. Like it doesn't like
Yeah.
it's too big. The park and the rift are just like cherished exceptions.
Hmm.
So I've been known internally. Like these things never came out, but like to start these projects that just don't go anywhere. But sometimes they did, so that was difficult. Even with Doctor, I worked a lot with Doctor on different things. We failed at creating the fishing islands, and right now they're making like I think there was the Bayou,
Yeah, they made the bayou, and then now they're working on like the Lotus Atoll.
and there's this menu with like you click on the island you want to go
Yeah.
from the so that shares the design space that we had for fishing islands. Just our version never came to fruition.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I really appreciate the answers there. That's super
You don't
interesting.
have to highlight that all of these things are like
Yeah,
super
of
old.
course, of course.
Like
Like if they're not around right now and they were talked about here, they're probably years old and they're not gonna happen. Let's be real here. Like
yeah, they're
directions change for sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
All the people who worked on them are dead now.
They're all gone. All of them. Every last one of them. All right. Question number 8. Is there a particular mob, item, or Easter egg that you personally had a hand in that you're proud of?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, like when I look at the wiki, and I have to admit in front of everybody now that I do prefer the fandom wiki. You
Oh,
get the
wow.
comments at the at the bottom,
Hmm.
but anyway, I look on the wiki at everything, and there's jokes everywhere. There's inside jokes inside the team. There's connections to other like other media. There's tons of Easter eggs, and I've put my fair share. So just looking at the Skyblock wiki, I just often get burst out laughing, just seeing the stuff. And it's not just me or the devs or the designers; it's also the builders put stuff in the builds. The designers put stuff in the item names, the descriptions, the behaviors. Like you can't click 2 pages on the wiki without finding something stupid. So like the steak, right, is a
Yeah.
homophonic pun,
Yeah.
like a homophone.
Yeah.
Sounds the same, but it's not even the first steak weapon. There was the edible mace before.
Yeah.
And why does the edible mace exist? It's just, I wanted to be different and use something else than a sword, and I just used the stake.
Hmm.
The atom split katana is a katana that a sword so fine that it can split atoms.
Yeah. Like, come on.
The giraffe pet is just this inside joke where its 3 perks are long neck, good art, and higher ground. Higher Ground, I guess, is a Star Wars reference for starters, but the long neck Good Heart is just me and Doctor at 4 a.m. after working on all of these pet design, looking at what giraffes have in particular, and just getting, oh, they have a good heart and a long neck, so we just straight up put them literally in, in the pet perk names.
Yeah, you just rip
There's Cretius, which is the guy that handles the treasures. He's a real king from Lydia who was known to be super rich. And it's a saying in Quebec, riche comme Crésus. It's somebody who was like super rich. And even most people in Quebec don't know they're talking about some king from Lydia, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And then the Cruises, that guy, Cretius, I don't know how to pronounce it in English,
Yeah.
but his dialogue calls out on Necron's handle, which is like an internal joke. Like it's never ending. There's just, and I take deep pleasure, and I hope that players enjoy that stuff as well. I think it's part of the charm. It's like we
I
don't
think
have
players
much
love it.
narrative and we don't have much lore, but there's all this stuff that when you actually play, it's just you can have a good laugh. And sometimes it's just stupid fart jokes. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is philosophical or sarcastic or like a bit deeper. And I do have to like have a special mention for one item that I've put in the game. It's called the femur growth leggings.
Yeah.
It's a item you get from Bacte, and in its description, it's like, oh, it makes you slower. It gives you literally minus speed, which you do have during the Photon pathway thing.
Yeah.
And that's a different direct reference to like my small health issue, right? The femur growth. It's like I had this bone cancer, the same thing that got Technoblade,
Really?
osteosarcoma. Yeah,
Wow.
I had it in the leg, and it's kind of a deep cut because Bacte, Elise references him as like some form of dente too.
Yeah. That's
So it's
crazy.
all kind of connected.
Wow.
A bit sad,
I
too.
never knew that. Yeah, that's terrible, man. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad you're okay, and I'm glad you're still here, man. That's for the very least. But that's a very, I guess, a very deep reference. I guess I'll now, whenever I see it, I'll think of it totally differently. Crazy. Well, all right. I guess we'll
Let's,
move.
let's try and stay chipper.
Yeah, let's try to stay a little chipper here. Let's move right along. What's one of the most? I don't know if this one's gonna be a chipper one for you. Number 9. What's been one of the most challenging bugs or technical limitations you've had to overcome while working on Skyblock?
Limitations. It's not exactly limitations. I did talk about a bunch of exploits, and I
Yeah.
guess it's sort of a limitation. It's sort of a technical. It's because the game is built on top of the Minecraft simulations.
Yeah.
So limitations, there are so part of the game for me. They're hard to quantify or respect. I guess even like when there are limitations, that's when you do your best to push the boundaries. And I like that, like when you create games or you create media, it's when you have these limitations and you push the boundaries in like the technical factor, somehow that gets pushed to like the design aspect as well, or like whatever other things where will also get pushed together. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And most exploits in the game are like a combination of two facts about Skyblock. Is that, yeah, the game is built on top of Minecraft, but yeah, as I said, on top of the Minecraft simulation. So beneath Skyblock, you can still spawn a walking sheep, and it's the same sheep as in survival
Yeah.
because it's built on bucket. Until we disable the fact that that sheep drops wool, it will still drop wool. And second, the second fact, apart from being on the Minecraft simulation, is that nobody planned on having 30,000 players or 200,000 players on
Yeah.
Skyblock.
That's fair. Yeah.
So it's often like when there's exploits, it's often on developers like, did you think of everything? And it turns out, well, no. I didn't expect players to feed their dead catfish to Diana's Siamese cats. And you could say, oh, well, like we have firm control over items, right? We have so many custom items. Our system is pretty good. But the mobs, I think with what they've done now on 120 for foraging, the mobs are more controlled. There wouldn't be accidents like that. But that's just two aspects of Minecraft. There's so many more in the simulation. Like, did you expect that players would use your menu with the Minecraft touchscreen mode to bug out items out of it? No. So that's so most challenging. Yeah, it's the growing pains of like a game that is built on a existing simulation.
Yeah. Well, all right. That's very, very interesting. Very insightful. I never realized that the touchscreen would be that much of a pain in the butt to deal with.
It's a one-time fix that we had to do, but somehow port it to all the menus.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, so number 10. What goes into deciding the roadmap or priority of upcoming Skyblock features?
The roadmap. So I talked about this freedom, creative freedom out of pragmatism.
Yeah,
So I
pragmatism.
think in the same vein, there's bottom-up decision making, a lot more than elsewhere. I haven't been much elsewhere, but that's what I've heard. That's what they told me.
That's what they
But
told you. Maybe they were just telling you that. They were just lying to you.
yes, like where do ideas come from? Well, out of pragmatism, at least that's my view, is that if a developer is very motivated on a project, well, suddenly it's like they do more stuff about it. Like they're very motivated about making Enderman Slayer, and then instead of taking 2 weeks, it takes one day. Who knew?
Wait, you made Ender Slayer in a day?
Nah. Because any Slayer, because there's so many items, yeah, it takes more than a day. But
Well, I mean the
it was
actual
just
like
an
concepts
example.
itself. Because I'm just speaking from the perspective of like, I've worked on like some Minecraft development stuff, whatever. I don't think a lot of players like understand like how long certain updates take, I guess. So it's interesting to hear that you're able to make like such a large amount of progress on something in like a day, going from like 0 to like it's in the game.
I don't want to be quoted as saying Enderman Slayer one day, but there are some things which take surprisingly a short amount of work time.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of there's people who go to work, they come back home like not a teacher, but and they don't worry about their work. They leave it at work.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was often on call to fix dupes, but beyond that, it's also even if we're not working, like you're playing some other game and you see something interesting, or you go in the shower and like that's the most creative point in your life, and like you you think
Yeah.
about the game and the development, and that's part of like shortening the time frame. Anyway, all I meant is that when the developers that are creating the product are motivated, that's
Yeah.
pragmatic for the company to leverage that and
Yeah, for
to let
sure.
them do it. But there were some top-down directives like fix bugs,
Yeah.
like
And that time that at the beginning of the game's development, Simon was like, "You guys are all Skyblock devs now for the next 2 months."
yeah. So sometimes there's top-down direction,
Hmm.
but if there's no time now to do your idea, and also you need to be a bit seasoned as a developer. Like
Yeah.
I was privileged for being when I talk about creative freedom. Of course, I was privileged because I was there from the beginning and I had a lot of experience, but I've seen like a lot of developers grow
Yeah.
on Sky, even within Skylog, and be able to like take on a bit of their own project.
All right. So on to question number 11. How
Oh,
does?
sorry.
Oh,
Sorry. Just to clarify, basically, how are ideas born and
yeah.
put on the roadmap is somebody has inspiration. Anybody could be a designer, could be a builder, could be a programmer, and
Yeah.
then they pitch it. They pitch it either to other people they want to work with, or they pitch it to up above to Don.
Hmm.
And then he says, like other people, at some point he says yes or no, and most often he says yes, and then it happens.
Yeah. That's really interesting. All right. So moving right along to question number 11. How does player feedback factor into the game's development?
I'm gonna say some controversial things here, so be ready.
Yeah.
But right, so players underestimate like how much their feedback impacts the game. They underestimate it.
Hmm.
There's a, I think in the modern days, basically, there's a big demand for developer transparency across the industry.
Yeah.
You can find like on any game, there's
Oh
going to be
yeah.
YouTubers for it, and there's going to be like thumbnails saying they listened.
They listen.
Right?
I do
They
that. I'm
listen.
I'm not immune to this. I do that sometimes. You're
Well,
talking.
people click. So what are you
Yeah.
gonna do?
Yeah. Fair enough.
So on the Hypixel, we have the official website, and there are these release threads, and I can assure you 100% that the devs look at the reactions and the comments in the thread.
Yeah.
They also gather feedback from the YouTube comments on update videos, like your videos,
Really?
from Reddit, from like whatever cowshed knee-jerk reaction, like everything takes into account for the feedback. And there were events where, like, I can black on white say that we instantly did something. Like personally, there was the personal bank that was a long time ago, but I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember. There was the enchanting update. Like on day 2, we just made it drop more and more generous. And there was like drama on the summoning ring for Vodgloomsire.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought, I think this is not the intended way for the players to do this, but after reading the feedback, it's like, oh well, I just have to meet the players where they are, and
Yeah.
so these are direct changes, but the feedback also impacts direction. So that's the part where not everybody's going to like it. I'm going to sound terrible or out of touch or pretentious, whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
So there's this idea that Ford, the car guy,
Yeah.
maybe he didn't say it, maybe he did say it, but it's this quote: if I had asked what people would want, they'd have asked for faster horses.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's also a famous clip from Blizzard. I play some WoW, and regarding WoW Classic a long time ago, before it released, of course, it applies to any game. It's not I'm not drilling on Blizzard, but they said there was a conference, and somebody asked about classic servers, and they said you think you do, but you don't.
Yeah.
Is this sort of irreverent confidence? Now I don't know about that exact quote. I preferred the Ford idea, but.
Yeah. I actually think that quote is accurate. Like I've heard it multiple times. I don't know if it was specifically Blizzard that stated it, but yeah.
It's hard to say if it's accurate because they did end up releasing the classic servers later. So
Yeah.
but maybe at the time it made sense. Anyway, there's this idea I see in like I go on Reddit a lot on our games or our gaming, like if only they had listened to the community, right? It's the thing is there is a if we only listen to the community, right? Perhaps the pelts gameplay on the farming island would be super fleshed out and super polished,
Yeah.
and finding animals wouldn't be a pain in the ass. But that's all we'd be doing.
Yeah.
We'd only be doing updates and polish and bug fixes to existing content and that's why creative minds are so difficult, because there's so many claimants out there for like even the most obvious stuff.
Yeah.
What if we did a Slayer but with skeletons? Never heard this idea before. And I sound aggressive or vitriolic towards the players base, but I'm not, and I will explain. It's because you could put ideation on a spectrum between vision and incremental improvement. And community feedback, it leans so heavily towards incremental improvements, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. It's because on the other end, it's like vision it's kind of like the win. The win. Jay Ehrman is like the game director, right?
Yeah.
And he blows the wind a little bit, but it's not just him; it's the whole company, it's the whole business. So the wind blows a direction, and so if somebody tries to make a lot of effort and design like a new dungeon or like remake the alchemy skill, and I've seen Google Docs that are like 150 pages about the alchemy skill, and sometimes players will point at it and say, "Oh, why didn't you just do that?" Well, it's because these things. Sometimes they go against the wind, or they're never quite ready to ship. Like there's always details in there that you have to massage to fit into the game.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like if it goes against, I'm sorry about that analogy, but if it goes against the wind, it just doesn't fly. So people are disincentivized to put out vision ideas, and they always focus on incremental improvements.
Yeah, I mean that's very reasonable. And I completely agree with you. Like, as a player, sometimes it does feel like when it comes to community feedback, like the player set's mindset is we want like it's weird because simultaneously like there's a large group of people who are like we want more content, we want new things, we want more islands, more dungeons, whatever. But there's also a very large group of people, a contingent that's like we want the admins to fix their damn game. You know what I mean? Like the game is broken, it needs to be fixed. Like So it's kind of very difficult to like juggle both of those mindsets at once, and you kind of can't do that as a team. You can't simultaneously do
It's a very
everything.
difficult. That's the key part that players have to understand is like you have only a certain amount of resources that you can deploy on either end of the spectrum. And I personally am a strong believer that deep down, what players want is just more content,
Yeah.
and that content is supplied by vision, not incremental improvements. So, and it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So if every time is all the time is spent on like the current game, you go nowhere.
Yeah, and I think a very good example of that, at least to a smaller degree, is for example, if you look at like the year of content for 2024, like if you asked or told somebody like, yeah, you're gonna get a whole year where the majority of the updates are like quality of life improvements, bug fixes, like just making the game more stable and getting it like better. A lot of people would initially be like, that sounds like fine. But that year happened, and like the comments on my videos, like it became more vitriolic. People were very, very upset. They were like, "Where's the new content? I don't understand why we're not getting new stuff." And it's like, well, at the end of the day, a lot of people asked for that. A lot of people said like, "We want you guys to fix the game." They were fixing the game. That takes time. You can't expect both at the same time.
So, what was the question anyway?
Well,
How
the
does
initial,
player feedback shape
yeah,
development?
shape
I think
development.
Hypixel is compared to other games because I play a lot of other games. Like Hypixel, they're actually quite transparent. They're decent at comms,
Yeah,
better than the others.
really.
But sometimes, yeah, it's hard to pierce through the opaqueness of it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, so number 12 is, are there any design trends or technologies from other games that inspire the Skyblock team? And if you could introduce any mechanic from another game into Skyblock, what would it be and how would you adapt it?
Um, so are there any? So we did mention that there's so many like
Yeah, we did
references to
kind of
other
cover the
games,
first segment of that quite a
but
bit.
so I played a lot of Guild Wars 2 before making Skyblock, and during making Skyblock, I played a lot of World of Warcraft, and I played League of Legends a lot. But like I mentioned these two games because they're MMOs, and Jay played League of Legends, Don Carrizo played Final Fantasy, and Nitro played RuneScape, and WoW, Relanter played WoW. And when I say play, it's not like
Oh, a
once in a
couple
weekend. It's
hours.
like it's a serious playing, just like people do on Skyblock. So they have like a frame of reference for how to build a game. So and there are literal references to those games in Skyblock, but mechanically there are too, like item cooldowns, level requirements, skill XP curve. Like the skill XP curve is on the different skills like combat and foraging and whatever and mining is just Jay looking at what RuneScape did and try and do better. So, but I would like so I'd like to reverse your questions actually. Your question, you
Yeah,
say what would you put in Skyblock? I would like to contrast what is not in other games.
interesting.
So at its core, there's Skyblock. There's the private island.
Yeah,
Like, can you find another game that has that? That
I,
is your actual home. You feel like home. It's not just this extra thing. Like in Genshin Impact, they have this teapot, but it's so external to the game.
yeah.
In Skyblock, it's actually like where you spawn, where you live when
No,
you're like
I
it's
really
your
agree
home.
with you. I think that was like a very frequent thing. Like I grew up playing a lot of MMOs, like Destiny 2, stuff like that. And like a large amount of like MMOs don't have any sort of player housing or player homes that like they really feel like they can. I think the closest MMO to get to it is one that people don't normally like, which is Fallout 76, where you can like place your camp and then you can build in your camp and you can update it over time. And
Yeah.
that kind of feels like home, but like it's Fallout 76. No one cares about that game. Like I don't know. I think Skyblock is probably
Well,
one of the only examples where
I'm sure people who play it care about the little frames that they get, like the
yeah,
12 frames per second that they get. They do appreciate those.
man. You know what, you're saying that
Uh,
to me, and I actually do play that game, and that is one of the biggest problems in Fallout 76. Is it's just so
um,
bad. But yeah,
again, a lot of people ask, what does a movie director do? What does a game director do?
yeah,
And I'll give an example. Is this a vision or like this idea that in Skyblock, and that was pre-release. That was pre-release. This idea that in Skyblock you can be the something guy. I'm gonna be the cucumber guy. There's no cucumbers in Skyblock. It's hard, but yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna be the potato guy. I do believe that was a specific like actual example that Jay gave pre-release, and
yeah,
look where that went
yeah,
with the potato wars.
yeah.
And then this idea that we have a dual market in a game that the average player base is 12 years old,
Hmm.
but because it's an economy game, you don't see that anywhere else.
No,
The elections, like, so the election system, it sounds it has gameplay because you can get like Diana,
Yeah.
but it also has emergent social gameplay. You
Yeah.
remember? I think it was semi recently. There was like Diaz sucks, right?
Yeah.
And she never got elected. So there was this sort of like homegrown like YouTuber push to like get Diaz elected. I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember this campaign. And I think a lot of games lean so hard on like what you can feel and touch that they lose grasp on like this kind of thing. And I think Skyblock is decent at doing this.
I don't disagree. I think Skyblock does a really good job with those social features. I think that that's like one of the big selling points of the game is that it's super solid at that.
I like everybody. I just wish there was more, but it's so hard to do.
Yeah.
It's easier to design a boss than to design a social movement.
Yeah, it's true. No, that's very fair.
And when so to answer the direct question, which was ideas from other games, and what would I add is just the fact that when something is desired from another game, because of that culture I talked about, it's always like why not add it? It's not a requirement. But so example, you like Cookie Clicker? Well, you
Yeah.
got Hypixel, right? People's Islands is cozy and storage and home and a lair for like semi roleplay with like flippers. But there could be another private island like the garden, which is like with minions. Like you would have another instance that you own and you would play Factorio that could be added, you know?
God, I
It's like
wish.
everything is possible.
Yeah, that would have been so cool. All right. So moving on to the next question, I think I put number 13 again. It was how does one apply to Hypixel? I'll just move on to the next one. When it comes to the Rift, what inspired you to go in a different direction compared to most other Skyblock content?
The motivation for the island, I think, was community driven to fill the Wizard's Tower that said 3 to 5 business days. I know the dungeon hub still says coming soon or not coming
Not
soon,
coming soon, yeah.
but that was one of the things we wanted to fill. So the initial pitch by Jay was, you would go in the Wizard's Tower and it would send to you one of X random islands where stuff was really weird, like inverted gravity style, or like mobs that are composites of like other mobs. Like you would have a cow tornado that's fighting you.
That's awesome.
Some of that weirdness did leak into the final product, but yeah, we when I took the project over, Jay and we brainstormed in some other direction of having a single narrative experience with a start and a finish, aka a finite grind.
Yeah.
And there is still infinite grind with the Vampire Slayer and getting the
Burgers.
Shin's auctions items. But well, even the burgers are finite, right?
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, now with the RNG meter, yeah.
So I like the idea of going back to form, where specifically there's a full understanding of the combat system. There was another example, direction. Jay said every mob in the Rift should be interesting. So that's how we got the Shy and the Shadow and all
Cruxes,
that.
yeah.
All the Cruxes are like kind of unique, unlike like zombies. So yeah.
All right. I guess the next question is, what was your favorite part of the Rift to develop?
Favorite part, I think it's the Mirrorverse, specifically the dance, because I really aspire to inflict pain and misery on people.
It feels like it, man. It feels like it. I was spending so much time on that damn thing. I was not having a good time.
The Mirrorverse is a micro like portal experience, like the game Portal. Of course, it's not as good. It would need like so many more puzzles to dare even compare to that game. But so I focused on diversity. Every puzzle is like very different than the other ones. I shotgunned it like It Takes Two. Like the gameplay changed a lot. But I remember I showed Nitro like in pre-release of the Rift, and he said this was the most impressive technical concept he's seen in Minecraft, and I take pride in that.
Yeah.
So
The
Rift's design
was really good.
Aside from that, my favorite part is like the whole part is the Rift's design is just filled with what ifs. Like from brainstorm with Doctor or Jay or my mom or whatever I read on the internet is what if the flower pots spelled high, and you had to say it in chat. Okay,
Yeah.
fuck it, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Vampire Survivors is pretty popular right now. What if we have a reverse castle and the new Slayer is just vampires and it's in the rift? Like, why not?
Yeah, why not?
What if you could shoot horses to eat hay that is blocking the way? What if you had to, at the same time, to use the most annoying rabbit in the world, but it has a unique name that's so that deep down you kind of like it anyway. You're a rabbit.
Yeah. It's your
So
rabbit.
it's the setting of having this alternative universe where anything goes was like a breeding ground for just creating raw fun and just focusing on fun.
All right. So next question is Skyblock could easily be considered one of the largest MMOs in the world. Did the concept of working on a project that large ever motivate or demotivate you?
You said could, because Skyblock could easily, but it's like it's
Yeah.
not could. It is
Yeah.
an MMO, and it is one of the largest ones. It has more player count than EVE Online.
Yeah, that's true. That's crazy.
So did the concept of working on a project? So yes, to both is. I'll give an example about the motivation. Is Hypixel has a lot of metrics recording about like the gameplay features to see like what's popular and compare like. So for example, I remember the numbers are not exactly precise, but they're good enough. Like I looked at 1 month and there were 650,000 Infernal Demon Lord spawned in the month.
Yeah.
And then we can measure like failure rate, but that's irrelevant. There were
All of those
implying-
failures were me. You just look at the list. It's all
I'm
derivative.
implying it's higher than the others for Inferno. 2.5 million Rev T4, 2.5 million Voidloom T4.
Yeah.
Well, 2.5 million in a month, it's 3.5K per hour. That means every single hour. When I'm sleeping, when I'm doing I'm at the grocery store, there's people killing the boss that I created. That's like an unfathomable number, 3.5 thousand an hour. And I know some people like they grind like, I don't know, like 20 an hour, but it's still like multiple lobbies filled with 3-4 people just grinding the boss all the time. And there are people who did the boss so much, they're so in tune with the code that I've written. Like you could show them the boss location and show a block and you can ask, could the beacon spawn there? And they could say yes or no without even being able to explain why. That's just how much they did the boss. And that shows like both the breadth, like the amount of players who did it, and the depth of how much you impact individual players. There's like players out there with like their 2,000 hours profile, and others look at them and are like, these are rookie numbers.
Okay, that's me, man. Why are you calling me out right now?
There's hardly any form of creative expression out there which can reach that level of intimacy with like their recipients, the players.
It's true. It's a very good point.
So on the flip side, the motivation or what's difficult is that I did the strength nerf, right?
Oh
and
boy.
You get the ire, you get the hate from all over the world. It's imagine like there's some kid in Brazil, Germany, and New Zealand that hates me personally at the same time. All 3 kids complained to their parents that their sword was now useless, and it's because of Minikloon. And that's because I took a forefront. But even if it's faceless Hypixel, it boils down to the person who made the decision. So there were. It's also a constant pressure, like at any time that. I said, like someone is trying to break the game and impact its economy. That's a side effect of having so many players.
Yeah, for sure.
As an anecdote, like that even happened. Like it has such a overwhelming pressure. It even happened internally. Even myself, shortly after the end release, there was there's these dragons that can spawn, and there was a dev command to like choose which spawn next.
Yeah.
So there was like this YouTuber on the end, and I just. Oh, it's all going to spawn superior now, just for fun, just the same idea as God games. But I hadn't fully grasped like the impact in an economy-based game of how that damages the rep. It was a very different. Like I wouldn't do it now, but
obviously, yeah. But it was a very different time. The game was younger, and like that was just an idea. Like, oh, this could be like a God game.
This is another case where like this how big the game is means you can't do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So you have this responsibility. And also this level of responsibility, like especially because on average it's a younger audience. Of course, it's not ludotainment, but there's a consideration that when I teach kids how to do their taxes in the Rift, it has an impact.
Yeah.
Or the idea that when people get scammed in the game, it's better they get scammed in game than in real life.
Yeah.
So this grandness of it is definitely motivating, but there's people trying to dox me,
Yeah, that's pretty awful. Nobody should have to deal with that. All right. Number 17 on our list. If you could go back before Skyblock's release, are there any major systems you would change?
Yes. Systems or just things to change is infinite, but so first, in terms of systems, I made a mistake with the profile system.
Yeah.
Before release, someone told me, so we wanted co-ops, right?
Yeah.
So someone told me this co-ops will be created from the get-go and never changed. So of course, today after release, the number one feature request was I want to invite people to my co-op.
Yeah.
And I had designed a system that was not made for that. And I made a quick fix, and that haunted us for years.
Yeah.
And in fact, in general, even from a design, like now we know, right? Now we know even that co-op the way it is right now is not really what people want. It's like you get less minions, you get a chance of getting co-wiped. You're like, it's like an indefinite marriage. It's none of these things that people want. And there's been, I remember there were ideas to fix it, but it's challenging.
For sure.
Another thing I would change, this is difficult because catacombs, right? Dungeons.
Yeah.
They're really good and really popular. But after the end, the island, after the end, the main team, quote unquote, shifted to working on catacombs, Ape Unrelented and Nitro.
Yeah.
And yeah, the whole company was working on Skyblock, but they shifted back a little bit. So I was left on the side. So that year where they worked on the catacombs, because it's a big project, right? It has so many, it's a big scope. So it took a long time. That time, it cost me personally, a lot of, I'm going to die younger.
Yeah.
Because while the main team was working on this catacombs, I put it upon myself to provide content during that time and also fix all the dupes. But I was alone, and Doctor came and he did a lot of content, and it all turned out okay. But I do wonder if there's an alternative universe where instead of saying we want to do catacombs, let's do another island in the end, and we could set in motion an engine of island creation. Yeah. Just put a framework of how new islands are made, what players expect in them, and we could have a very different, if we had taken this different path, a very different Skyblock today, where there could be hundreds of islands instead of the catacombs. Yeah. But it's very hard to say nowadays because the catacombs is a mainstay of the end game. It has, even if it's based on all these exploits of going through walls to get the secrets, it still has depth and replayability, and it's the end game. And there's when we look at the player count, I think it's available on High Track. It's a website. It's still one of the most popular active game mode. People are AFK in the hub and in the private island, but when they actually do something, they're often in the catacombs.
That's true. It's a good point. All right.
One sec. Sorry. There's another concept that I would have addressed back then, but it's also touchy. So I mentioned about the Rift that being able to. There is this game in the game. There's exponential combat growth, right?
For sure.
And it makes creating new combat content, exceedingly difficult. That's why this soft reset felt so pleasant as a developer in the Rift. Because I knew the numbers. I knew how many hits it would take to kill the mobs and how many hits the players could survive.
Exactly.
In the rest of the game, that's Gamba. You just don't know, and it leads to we need 4 Slayer boss the tiers, right?
Yeah.
Of course, they vary in mechanics. It's limited when you have lemons, but at its core, there should be just one boss, no?
Yeah.
So. It's to fill that. Same with the Diana mobs. There's multiple tiers. Why? It's because there's exponential combat. So, but it's hard to say that it's bad because if we again look back at the Potato Wars video,
Hmm.
he's hanging out in the depths of the mining island and he's fighting the zombies, and it's part of the fun. And in the content of the video, but it's part of the fun that players actually experience.
Yeah.
That they become like they can just slam down these zombies that just one shot them not too long ago.
Yeah.
So would the game be as popular without this exponential component? I cannot know.
Yeah, I don't actually think it would be. Like, I think that that's one of the big things that people tend to like about Skyblock is that they really enjoy that, like, they, unlike in a lot of games where, like, for example, a lot of MMOs, they have a feature where if you go back into an area that you're stronger than, they'll scale your damage down to where those enemies are still, like, a threat. And a lot of people don't like that. They want to feel powerful. They want to feel like they've changed and grown. And I especially think with Skyblock taking like it's been around for so many years, they feel that progression. Like their profile is an extension of themselves, and it's changed along with them.
Yeah, absolutely, but it's still the fact that it makes it so much harder to create new content.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the trade off there that you're working with.
So like could have we been able to produce so much more meaningful content that it would have over overtaken that
Hmm.
sense of exponential progression? It's just like the jury is still out. We don't know.
Yeah, very reasonable though. Very fair. I completely understand why that would be something that would be like, all right, that probably shouldn't have existed from the beginning. And I think if it didn't exist from the beginning, and content was much more linear and things weren't exponential, I do actually think more could have theoretically been created. All right, so number 18, I believe. On a more meta level, do you think Skyblock is in a good spot gameplay wise? And you kind of already sort of answered this.
I guess aside from this combat system, there are like, yeah, I think that there are strong gameplay systems that are even more evolved than other games like that. The player stats, they work really well. As the mats, they interact okay. The numbers and multiplicative interactions are out of whack. The armor is very complicated to understand, but
Hmm.
it's fine. It works.
Yeah.
I think what the game needs, I was talking about this engine of island creation it needs. It's part of like, I guess it's just saying, oh, we want more content, but still, like, it needs more activities, I think.
Yeah.
And to make sure, like, that it's activities, that it's content that's available both at end game and early game when it comes out.
Hmm.
Kind of like the Rift, but even the Rift was kind of semi hard to access as an early game player when it released.
Yeah.
And activities is like more what players do moment to moment, and has intrinsic motivation. They don't do it for the rewards. They don't do it because they look at the tier list of what gives the most coins. They do it because they want to explore. I want to see the bosses. I want to see, so more like that. And although what makes the most coins is still fine, if the coin income is driven by player demand, like shiny blocks grinding or
Yeah.
whatever, like still more activities would be. So an example, like what I mean by content, this collecting pelts is a different activity. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
a bad example because it could be better. Or
Yeah.
the experimentation table is another example. You go there daily, and the gameplay is different. It's a different activity, and like the progression system is different, and all of that can be wrapped into yeah, a progression system that's sort of a bubble that you can progress in, kind of like the Slayer armor and the
Hmm.
Slayer. But at the end, you get the overflux, which is external and like affects the whole game. I
Yeah.
think that's like a healthy way to design. It just needs more mid-size updates that would have islands associated with them.
Yeah. I agree. It's very interesting.
So is it in the good spot? I mean, people have fun, so I guess yeah.
Fair enough. All right, number 19. We got one more question after this one. So, what was your favorite update in terms of game content rather than development?
Um, I'm glad they made the free access stackable on the Rift now,
Hmm.
right? I think they did that change.
Yeah.
It should have been like that from the beginning, but basically, yeah, it's the Rift is kind of my magnum opus. It's probably what I best can do in Minecraft modding in general. Like
Yeah.
me personally, until I do 3D models, and basically now it just becomes its own game. There were moments where I wanted to share my work with like other people, like on Discord, like just the Rift, but it's hard to access. I have to give a shout out to the permagelled garlic flavored reheated gummy polar bear
Yeah.
as a piece of content, because think about crafting it in Iron Man. This recipe, it requires a Rift transferable reheated gummy polar bear
Yeah.
that you get from Blaze Slayer, which means you probably farmed every Slayer.
Yeah.
And you have a Wither Cloak, which means you did all the dungeons. it's this one accessory that you use to farm vampire slayers just slightly faster. You have to like kill 3 less vampires.
Yeah. You have to do so much of the game.
It, you have to look at the full depth of Skyblock progression, and it's kind of vertiginous. So I do like that one. And I guess I have to mention the community center update.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not what would come to mind to players. It did bring elections, which includes Diana, which is a fair bit of content. It had the bid shops and the booster. Yeah. I worked on it with Doctor. I took care of most of the systems, and what I mean by system is like each tab in the Elizabeth store. Like I made the system, but I worked half and a half with Doctor on making the actual content.
Yeah.
So like implementing the perks and implementing the bid shop items. I guess one thing that's funny is that we came up with the elections, and that the election system is a system. It's a network system, but then the actual mayor's content I designed and I co-implemented with Doctor. We just split the work. So he made the fishing festival.
Yeah.
Which was just a cut above the other that we had. We had like, you get mining wisdom from the mining guy.
Yeah.
Cole. And so once he made the fishing festival, I guess I'm kind of competitive, so I made Diana.
Yeah.
And then he approached me and he was like, we can't have that. We can't, like, that's too much. And I said, are you advocating for like having less content for the players? And that was it. We just shipped it. But I remember working with Simon and Don and Jay, even like for the jammed economy, and like even the numbers on store.hypixel.net. And I guess if you do go there, use code RAIL.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. As far as I remember, the numbers that are on there, like 1350, whatever, they're just educated guesses that I suggested.
Yeah.
So I had taken like a lot of time to double and triple harden all of the systems in relation to the community center in terms of code. But I think that release day was like the most stressful professional day of my life. Like,
yeah,
but everything went smoothly.
I don't blame you at all for that. That was I remember being there like on that day, and it was very stressful for the community as well, because a lot of people, the initial like knee-jerk reaction was the community was like, this is step 1, it's going to be pay to win in 3 months, the game's over, it's doomed. And like that obviously never came to fruition in that manner, but like that was the initial fear. It was like booster cookies were like step 1 on a grand plan where like on in 3 months time you'd be able to buy a Hyperion.
In 3 months time we're gonna have integration with Nicki Minaj, and you're gonna be able to buy the X-Man skin.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to buy the X-Man skin and your Skyblock battle pass for sure. All right, so last question. Do you think that Skyblock will be around in the long term, like another 2, 3, 4, 5 more years?
There's a big difference between 2 and 5.
Yeah.
I think 2-3 years is for sure. In 5 years, will everybody be around? I don't know, but in 2 years, so I think so. Hypixel has so much history and so much residual community. Like there's so many people who know about it or grew up with it. Like Hypixel is only always like a few good decisions, or one decision away from something really great.
Yeah.
And it's not just within Skyblock. Like they could like make the next Catacombs or something even greater, and then like a big boom of like you go back to 100k CCU. But it's also the whole server, and even beyond that. Like for example, Simon on Twitter, I guess it's X now, the Everything app.
Everything app.
He was looking to, so of course like Hytale blew up. I don't know, sorry if I'm announcing that for the first time to the listeners.
If you guys were under a rock for the last month, Hytale's dead. I'm sorry that Minikloon had to tell you.
So Simon was looking to buy it back,
Hmm.
and so I talked about we worked on the catacombs. A lot of that was because we worked so long for it and stuck with it for a year because Simon had made a commitment to like he said on his on the to the community in a tweet that there would be dungeons coming to Skyblock. So he made a commitment back then for dungeons, and I think he has that same kind of mentality to offering us an evolution to this block game
Yeah.
in the form of Hytale, and like maybe the team at studios couldn't. I don't have any contact with anybody at studios. I don't know what went on, but
Yeah.
I think he's trying to still keep the vision alive.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't have. I'm just a member of the public. I don't have internal knowledge, but like from what I read, it seems complicated to actually like get the IP, and
Yeah.
it's like Riot has it under lock and hesitates on giving the key back to the community for some unknown corporate reason.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to see what happens with that.
Yeah. I disagree. That's very interesting. I think that even though I myself I've never really like been a true believer in Hytale, I will say like from the beginning I've always admired Simon's like he's very much a visionary leader. Like he very much is like I want this to be done. I'm going to do everything within my power to get it done. And I've always felt that way about like the server and anything that he's developed or like been part of or led. And by extension Hytale, like I didn't believe in it once he was gone for sure, like once he wasn't involved on the project anymore. But even at that initial phase, like I was like, this is going to be interesting at the very least, and it definitely turned into something interesting.
What I know is that I got approached a few times to work on Hytale
Hmm.
because I was also on Hypixel back then, straight from its formation. And even the initial vision, I sort of disagreed with.
Hmm.
I'm the guy that skips all the cinematics in every single game.
Yeah,
I just I have a hard time with narratives in video games. There are exceptions, but because I know how the sausage is made, I know that it's so front loaded that if you do persevere and get to the end, you're going to be often disappointed.
yeah,
Such is life. But so I was approached with all of the roleplay elements of Hytale and all of the story and all of the stuff that I don't exactly care about. All I wanted to see is Hypixel not on Minecraft.
hmm.
Period.
Yeah, very reasonable. I mean, I guess like if it wasn't on Minecraft, there's so much more theoretically that could be done, and like you could do Skyblock in Hytale, 50 times the updates, a tenth of the dupe glitches, and I don't know,
50 times the updates.
50 times the updates. You've heard it here first,
a
ladies and
rift,
gentlemen.
a rift every week.
A Rift every week, new Rift, Rift 37 coming to a Hytale near you.
There was a mentality for a while. It was like, oh, maybe it's gonna happen. Maybe Bed Wars in Hytale, and then it became maybe Skyblock in Hytale, and then it became maybe just Skyblock is enough.
Yeah, maybe no Hytale at all.
That's where we're at. It's like you are here
Yeah,
on the
fair
map.
enough. I guess I don't really have like any closing thought questions. I guess I didn't really come prepared in that regard. But I guess like what is your general opinion about like I guess your time as a developer and then I guess like looking forward at Skyblock and like what do you think about the game? I know this is kind of like ad lib, like throwing a question at you. So
Well, it's my adventure on Hypixel has been, of course, a big part of my life. It was
yeah.
9 years,
Hmm.
and I've seen the company evolved uh, enormously, and I've grown myself
Yeah.
enormously. I speak much better English now than I used to. And how so I look fondly back to it, and what do I think of Skyblock? It's in some sense it's baby's first MMO. So it captured like the server already had the community, and it's like it exposed them to this RPG that in the persistent universe. But I think it does have more than that. It has a soul.
Yeah.
So I do like it.
I like it too. Well, all right. I think that about wraps up all the questions. So that was Minikloon, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Give it up for Minikloon. Comment about Minikloon. I will say though, Mini, like the community absolutely loves you. Like that is like one of the number one comments. Like whenever I talk about in a stream or whenever I like make a video and I talk about the admins, like a lot of people don't even realize like you're not on the team anymore because they're still asking for your like your input on things. And like
Yeah,
whenever I
of course. And I must mention, like, just on Discord, just keep sending me your unbanned requests. It's, even
yeah.
after all these years, I keep processing them, you know?
Yeah, he will actually get you unbanned. If you were one of
Oh
the
my
many
God.
people, the hundreds of thousands every day that get false wiped, because we all know that's very common. You just send your unban request to Minikloon, it'll get processed, I promise. Alrighty.
Still on that train.
Yeah, and also send them to me too. I'm definitely someone who's able to handle those requests. Even I get them, which is crazy.
But yeah, thank you for your kind words about, my role. But I think that I left, and I mean, when I left, it's in good hands.
Hmm.
The game, like the team that is there, it's a bit less visible, and I think it's preference and safety, and the team has
Yeah.
grown. But I think that the people who are still there are set to deliver. Like I said, they're just one decision away. It's not they have the capacity to execute on that decision.
Yeah. Well, all right. Very, very, I guess, optimistic look at the future. Wrapping up here, I don't have too much to add. That was a very lengthy video, and I think I was able to go over a lot of things with him, and I feel like I had a great time. It was nice getting to know him a little bit just through the interview itself, and I feel like I learned a lot about Hypixel's development, and I hope you did too. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below, and let me know if you're an admin, a current admin, or a former admin, and you want to do an interview. Feel free to reach out to me. I am always open to something like this. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel and allowing me to do something like this. This is kind of insane to even say, so thank you. At the end of the day, though, my name is Dorelius. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.